everybody. Welcome to Odie and Chill. This is episode 122, and we are live streaming today on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. For anyone that is watching, feel free to drop your questions for our guests in the chat, and we'll make sure to answer them throughout or towards the end. I'm Charlotte, Client Success Director for both Auckland and Singapore offices. Today, we are talking with Overland, one of New Zealand's most iconic footwear brands. Welcome to Kaitlin, Digital Marketing Manager, and Ella, Lead E-commerce Executive of the Overland Footwear Group. I thought today we could chat about their own professional journeys, Merchant and Mipiachi's respective e-com journeys, as well as any future plans for the brands. It's so nice to have you both join me today after we have been toying with the idea of our own OD and Chill session for a wee while now. And I really appreciate that amongst your busy calendars, you have been able to carve out an hour for us today. How are you both?
Good. Yeah.
Really
good.
Really excited we could do this as well. I know we've been kind of flirting with the idea and the dates for a while, so it was just good to lock it in and make the first date move.
Absolutely. And on a rainy Friday morning, we're just going to have this little fireside chat together. Now, I am pretty familiar with you both and your brands, as you're actually one of my first clients when I joined Overdose as a CSM just over 2 years ago now. And we've worked very closely ever since, and I kind of still drop into the odd whip and strategy meeting now and again to say hi. And to say it's been a pretty jam-packed couple of years is a bit of an understatement. We've done the replatforming from M1 to M2. We've just done the upgrade on M2. And all the while, we have been strategizing your paid performance with our respective wonderful marketing teams, as well as, facilitating a couple of new ideas on the horizon too, just to kind of add to the busyness. So I thought today we could use this as a bit of a chance to almost reflect on those past couple of years on a personal level, as well as for the brands themselves, and give the viewers and the listeners an insight into the day-to-day life of a busy e-com team here in Auckland. So if we kind of take it in turns a little bit, Ella, I'm kind of keen to start with you. You've been with Overland for over nearly 4 years now. So I'm keen to hear, how did you get to where you are now, and how has your time at Overland changed over those 4 years?
Sure. So I guess for me, I started with Overland back in 2019, actually working in store part-time while I was studying. So very much sort of on the ground. It was my first retail experience. Just sort of did that while I was studying. And then after I graduated around sort of early 2021, I joined the office and sort of became part of the digital marketing team. Originally, very much like a broad marketing role. I was kind of new. I didn't really know much in terms of like where I really wanted to live in terms of in that digital space, where was my passion. So I touched a lot of points. But obviously for Overland in 2021, I sort of became quite involved with the re-platform from M1 to M2 and sort of jumped right into that project once I started, and that definitely gave me the opportunity to sort of find my feet and just really fell in love with e-commerce and with our websites. So that's sort of where I sort of started in terms of my journey. But then sort of towards the end of that year, after we finished the re-platform, I sort of stepped up into the sort of e-commerce exec role and started managing the 4 websites, the day-to-day, and then have just finished obviously wrapping up our 2.4.5 upgrade, which was awesome. But yeah, so it's been a really cool journey. I've definitely grown quite a lot in quite a short time, obviously due to all of the big projects that we've had on in the digital space, which has been awesome to be a part of. But yeah, that's sort of where I've come from.
Only kind of, thrown in the deep end kind of from the get-go as an e-com executive. And I think it's always fascinating how it seems to be people kind of fall into e-com. I know I was in that position too, where I had been at university doing my master's in geography, but I was nannying for someone who had an online store, and I was wrapping up my degree, and she was kind of expanding her online store, and I was like, yeah, I could be an e-com manager. And then that's where I've been for like the past 8 years in the e-com world. Ella, for anyone that's listening who is thinking about getting into e-com, do you think there's any advice you could give?
I guess for me, yeah, definitely I fell into it. It was something that I was like, I'm going to give this a go. I didn't really know much about it and I absolutely loved it. So I think if you're in that digital space, you really like this stuff, give it a try. It's definitely an amazing sort of area to go to. And I think like there's so much growth happening in digital at the moment that there's heaps of opportunities out there for people who are wanting to get into it. So just give it a go.
It's great for those kind of lifelong learners amongst us, who are just kind of, there's always something new. So it kind of always taps into that, that curiosity, I guess.
Yeah,
for sure. And I guess actually another point you raised, which was super interesting and something that I actually see on the Overland LinkedIn quite a bit is you really champion hiring from your store staff and bringing them into head office. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, totally. So it's definitely one of our passionate things that we love to do. It's just so important that we are, continuing to grow our team from the minute they sort of walk into the business with us. And I think for anyone who starts in store, you obviously have such a great knowledge of the brands already. You have a knowledge of our customers. You have a knowledge of sort of the experience that we're wanting. So when you sort of move into a different role, it's quite an easy transition. So I really, it's such a great place to grow at Overland. So it's awesome.
Cool. And now, Kaitlin, on to you. Much more recent team member as you joined Overland mid-2022. What drew you to the brands?
I think what primarily drew me to the brands was, first and foremost, it was a family-owned NZ, New Zealand-based company. And with that family-owned, I mean, we're working directly with the directors and the owners who established the brand and the company way back when their father and their grandfather started the company. So it really is a stalwart, New Zealand brand that's going through the generations. And so that really drew me to the brand, but also how that goes outside just the support office. As Ella mentioned, they really reach out to the store teams and support them and bring them up through the journey. One thing that the company really does that drew me into it is that they really work hard to support their staff and their growth and their learning. And that's such a big value that they have. And I'm all about that as well. I want that growth. I want that learning. I want that progression for everyone. So that really drew me in as well. And that kind of just comes down to the company's values that really drive everything that we do. If you do work with Overland, these company values kind of backwards and forward. They really are everything that we do. And we every month we nominate other staff members and our peers for the values that they demonstrate. So those values include inclusivity, integrity, I'm reading this off, accountability, innovative, proactive, and inspiring. And those 6 core values kind of drive everyone and the work that we do, whether you're in the merchandising team, the planning team, the marketing team, or if you're in the store team, all these values, we all kind of work on them together. So that really brought us in. I think the other thing that really brought me into the company as well was just the impressive people who are leading the company. We have a lot of women in senior leadership roles here, and they're really driving the company and supporting each other and making business decisions. And it's been really great to be part of that kind of driving force behind it. And just, it's very impressive and inspiring. That leads down, sorry, I'm gonna keep talking, it leads down to the team as well, because we have these really great, impressive, high achieving leaders. And that just kind of reciprocates out into the teams. And the teams are full of great people, and we really have high standards of work, and we produce high volumes and high standard work regularly. And it's almost easy. It's a challenge. It can definitely be a challenge, but it's almost easy when you're in an environment that facilitates that. So that really kind of drew me to the brand as well.
It's definitely like contagious, that energy, right? Or that sense of leadership and being value driven. And, I think it's good on a personal level, in a professional setting, to be challenged on those and embody that team spirit in the multifacets that it is. So that was a really great explainer. Thank you for taking us through that. And can you tell me a little bit about your experience prior? Because you were agency before you went in-house, right?
Yeah. You might notice as well that I have a bit of an accent, different from peers. So my experience prior, I'm actually from the States. I'm from Colorado, from a wee little mountain town out west. Dare I say it out loud? It's from Rifle. Everyone can giggle. Yes, I'm from Rifle, Colorado. But yeah, so my career after uni, I started in publishing. Actually, I was in the marketing and acquisitions department for an academic book publisher out of Colorado. And then I decided to move abroad in about 2015, because if not then, when, you know? And then eventually landed in New Zealand in 2016. And I started working at a performance marketing agency called The Site Up. And I was with them from 2016 until I started at Overland, which is actually quite a long time in the digital world. So, and when I started there, I started off much like Ella. You know, I went in headfirst and I was learning social media, EDM, content marketing, and then I moved into the paid search realm and kind of account management. And then I really started getting interested in programmatic advertising. And at this time, in the kind of pre-2020 era, like maybe 2017, 2018, programmatic had a really, dare I say, dirty connotation in the marketing world, because no one really understood what it was. There was a lot of smoke and mirrors about it. You had to go directly to programmatic certified agencies or directly to the publishers and do IOs, and they would run your campaigns, and you know, depending on who you were working with, they would spit out an Excel document report and they'd be like, here you go, this is what you did. And you're like, cool, that seems like good results. And then there was kind of a shift in the market where programmatic companies or publishers started offering self-service platforms. And so we took this opportunity at the agency to jump on that right away. And I started learning and upskilling not only the platform side of it, kind of learning from setup to trafficking to data to how it all worked, but also on the commercial side of it and how to, you know, sell it to our clients and, you know, prove that this is part of the holistic omnichannel marketing strategy. And I really became quite passionate about programmatic. I knew how it worked. I knew the benefits. I could explain it in my sleep, and I could see the benefits of it for our clients, and just kind of reducing that kind of smoke and mirror and being like, this is exactly how it works. And this is what we can do. And it was awesome to be part of that. And then that naturally just kind of led into me eventually becoming a senior account manager and head of programmatic for this Site Up. And yeah, and then that was, in a nutshell, my experience prior. And then my time there kind of came to an end, and I joined Overland and kind of working, you know, with the team to excel, get them more up to date in the programmatic area, and bringing all that marketing strategy and all that knowledge and stuff that I've learned from agency and bringing that in-house for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. That was going to be my next question, actually. You know, do you think agency life in your previous role has led you to understanding Overdose and Overland's relationship better? Because I know they're pretty different worlds, right? And that's coming from me, who has done both now. But how do you feel like that has underpinned your onboarding at Overland and similarly your onboarding at Overdose?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been a very comfortable part of my journey. I understand the operating side of the agency, the ins and outs, the teams that are specialized in working on kind of the work ethic and what we have to do to present that, but then also helping bring more efficiencies to the relationship, I think, and more transparency as well. Probably a bit more heat, unfortunately, as well, I would say, as some team members might agree a little bit. But again, I think it's just when just kind of challenging the status quo of, like, you know, when we know there's all these amazing opportunities at hand and we want them, right? We want to do it, but just making it achievable and efficient and accountable for our business. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like whenever we're messaging each other on Slack, either one of us is starting the sentence with, now I'm going to be transparent here, or now I'm going to be frank, or I'm going to be blunt. And then we've sorted it out very quickly. So and I appreciate it. I think having that really open transparency and maybe that knowledge base of where each other's come from, and just be like, just cut through it. Let's get this done. And then we can move on and do a podcast and have a drink. Absolutely. It will be 12 o'clock in only 45 minutes. We have a question from Tegan here, which I'm just going to read off the screen. You both said that continual learning on the job is super important to you. What is something you've learned that has stuck with you and set you up for your current roles?
Okay, I can start with that one. I guess for me, I guess like jumping into sort of e-commerce in the middle of a re-platform was amazing for me in terms of my learning and growth. But I think what has stuck with me is if you don't know something, like try and figure it out. Like I'm such an investigator. I love to spend, just to go into the nitty gritty and spend a couple hours figuring it out, because I feel like I'm such a hands-on learner. So I love to try and do it myself to sort of have that knowledge. And I'm always wanting to learn something. I'm sure, Charlotte, you've seen before when we'll have a developer fix something for us and I'm like, can you show me how to do that? Because I want to know too. So I'm always sort of open to learning more and sort of gaining all of that knowledge from all of the experts that we have with us from Overdose. So I guess for me, it's always asking if I don't know from the experts, or taking some time to sort of sit down, dive deep and see if I can figure it out myself.
Yeah. I think building off of that, everything I would have said, she said, but also on top of that is making the time for yourself to learn. So carving out that time to, you have your, your daily tasks, your big task list, and you have all the proactive things you need to do. But if not carving out that time for you to learn, to research, resource, or dig in deep, then it can be, you can almost feel like you kind of get behind because technology advances so fast, which I'm sure we'll touch on here in a little bit, that just kind of carving out that time for your own learning is super important. So, I mean, that's mostly what stuck with me, is this prioritizing and setting up time for yourself to dig deep, to research, et cetera, because that was just going to help you in the next hour, the next day, the next week. It's always going to help you.
Absolutely. And having that time to let it sit with you and actually absorb, so then you can apply it to the next situation, rather than kind of just feel like you're just kind of at the surface. But yeah, I think, Ella, to your point, there's been plenty of times over our 2 and a bit years together where we've sat down next to each other and tried to work something out. Some of the top picks off the top of my head, which won't mean anything to anyone else apart from Ella and I, is the image issue where we sat down with Alex P. after weeks. And we finally nailed that. And the old cart price rules that keep us on our toes all the time.
That one's been revisited recently, so that's been a blast from the past, I hear.
Yeah, definitely.
New for me, blast from the past for these guys.
Yeah, but so good sometimes to just sit down together and just like really talk it all out, and then we can take all of that knowledge, into everything else that we do. And it does come up again, and you're like, oh, I remember our chat with Charlotte a couple weeks ago, and we sat down, we figured this out. I know how this will work now. Yeah. And sometimes it's just like talking it through. It's like unwinding all the strings and the data and the chats and the it's like, I always get this image in my head of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's having like a mind mapping moment and he's like, well, this is what's happening. Sometimes I feel like that's my brain, but we always get there in the end, and then it's always clear from there.
Absolutely. Well, our Slack channel is kind of like that mapping thing, because you guys have been such a long-term client of Overdose that it goes deep. Whenever I'm searching for something, there's plenty of stuff in there.
Always.
Now, if I pivot to a couple of more broad questions, feel free to kind of jump in. But I am keen to share with the viewers and listeners today what your key digital focuses will be for the next 12, 24 months, and kind of what your ambitions are. We've come out of this pandemic, and that was a kind of crazy e-com time, as we all know, but the dust has settled a little bit and people are coming back into stores. So yeah, I'm kind of keen to see what your digital focus is.
Yeah. Well, kind of what you touched on a little bit is that we've settled back into this normalcy, right, after a pandemic. And I think the one thing that happened that we all can agree on, and like you'd have to be living on a different planet potentially if you don't, is that the acceleration of digital and how much it's changed pre-pandemic. Because before it was kind of like nice and even, we're all like ticking along, still got this, still got that. But then like with the maturity and acceleration from the pandemic has definitely like advanced the websites, the development, everything on top of that. So when it comes down to it and where we're at today, there's a couple things that we need to do in the next 12 to 24 months that we need to ensure that we stay on top of that maturity and that acceleration, but also comes back and takes care of the stuff in-house. And by that, I mean the importance of our data, right? Because over the past 3 years, we've just had an acceleration. We've gained all these customers, we've gained all this data, all this information, and then it was going so fast. And now we have this mass amount of data, and we're like, cool, we need to clean this up. We need to make sure that we have all the right optimizations, we have all the right information, that everyone's opted into everything that we need to, and then also that we understand who the customers are and what they want. Yes. So I think making sure that our data is up to date, that it's nice and clean, that we can segment it, we can learn from it, and we can learn the behaviors and the signals of what our customers are telling us that they want. That's a huge, important part of our goals for the next 12 to 24 months. And then on top of that, we have to prepare for the whole cookie-less world that's going to be coming. Insert recent date here, whatever it is. We'll move it out 6 months from there, and then we'll all just be kind of biding our time. But during that time, when they keep moving it out, we can take, the time to really invest in making sure that data is, nice and clean. And I'm on top of that, also, I kind of touched on it, is just making sure that we're taking care of the customers. So as kind of customer acquisition costs have started to increase, we can, it's becoming a bit harder to acquire customers at the cost that we did prior. So we just need to really make sure that we're taking care of them and we're retaining that relationship from the moment of the first touch point, whether that be through a social media ad, whether they come in through search, whether it's through word of mouth, from that first touch point through to when they come online to shop the product, they go in store to shop the product, if they come in onto our website 1 time, 12 times, we need to make sure that that is seamless and beautiful and just as good as if they were in store with, our CEO who's selling them the shoes. And then after that, I'm just going to keep chatting through this. And then after that, we've done all this amazing work and making sure that's beautiful and wonderful. It's after that, after they've purchased, because our relationship's not done there. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of the customer after they purchased with us, whether they are part of our loyalty program, which is really great, or if they're not sure about the loyalty program, we just need to make sure that we're constantly taking care of them and offering them value and benefit, whether it's content, products. And by content, like how to take care of your shoes, or content of like, look at how to style this. It's not always about the sell. It's about the relationship and taking care of our customer. So yeah, I guess in a nutshell, my ambitions, and I think our ambitions is our data and taking care of our customers through that multifaceted, omnichannel, multi-touch, being their best friend approach.
Yeah, I think they both sort of come in and help each other. Like when we sort of can get to a space where our data is like, in a great space, as Kaitlin mentioned, like cleaning it up, making sure everyone is opted in and it's optimized. That really helps us inform, our strategy in terms of how we retain our customers, how we personalize all of our content, how we really have that communication with them and make sure it's, relevant and what they want. Like, I think they go hand in hand together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, you've worked very hard on optimizing and refining your loyalty offering, and it is, it's an amazing offering, and your kind of diehards are really reaping the benefits with your tier system. But I think, Ella, you raise a really good point around the personalization side of things. And, I know from chats previously, you're kind of taking it to the next level with some of the work you're doing with Nosto. Do you want to tell our listeners kind of what you have in store with Nosto this year?
Totally. So currently we use Nosto in our sort of tech stack already. We use a lot of their sort of AI in terms of on our website. We use it on our email, just all of that sort of stuff, because obviously their AI can assess what our customers are looking at, what they're browsing, what they're shopping, and it can sort of serve it to them in certain placements across web, across email, all that sorts of stuff. But Nosto have a couple sort of new features that we'd really like to get sort of stuck into this year. Particularly, they have a category merchandising tool, which we're really keen to sort of investigate more, because obviously that's so key for us, because the more flexibility and sort of control that we can have about how our websites are merchandised, the better. Obviously, we have so many products, so many shoes. And so sometimes, we might want to serve our customers our top sellers at the top of a category, or we might want to put the styles that have the most stock at the top and the ones that have the least amount of stock at the bottom, or whatever that might be. So that's something that we're really keen to sort of look at this year for us. And they also have another tool, which we're quite keen to look at, which is to do with their content merchandising. So that's going to give us the ability to sort of A/B test homepage banners and pop-ups and all the sorts of sort of content placements that you see across our sites, which we're so keen to look at, because obviously with this chat around personalization in our data, the more that we can sort of personalize the experience for our customers, the better. And so like this would give us the opportunity to, you know, maybe serve loyalty customers different messaging. You know, customers who are loyal with us, who've shopped with us many times, might have a different experience to a customer who's completely new to us and has never visited our sites before. It gives us that choice to sort of really customize the experience for wherever the customer is on their journey with us. So that's sort of some sort of exciting projects that we have in the pipeline this year.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you know, that personalization really plays into that acquisition strategy as well, to ensure that you are converting those new customers that are really interested in your brands.
Exactly.
Raven, I saw a question from Sam pop up a couple of times. Do you want to bring that back up? So Sam, and thanks Sam, I'm actually using your office for this broadcast today, so thanks for working from home. Sam says, love clients that bring a programmatic skill set. Can you give us any insight into the challenges of sustaining such an established brand while still driving revenue in a very competitive market?
Yes. So I think one of the challenges is probably balance. You know, we need to, yes, we are an established brand, but then there's always new customers entering the market who may not be as familiar with us. They might know us from Overland rather than Merchant or Me Piaci. And so I think it's this balance between driving, you know, that not just awareness, you know, the kind of a spray and pray approach, but being very targeted and data driven with our advertising, whether that be through video awareness, programmatic, etc. But then also using that data to make sure we remain competitive. So not doing, you know, the spray and pray, but because with today's advancements, you can be very targeted. There's so many available options to us when we're doing advertising that we can target people based on where they've shopped, what they are looking at online, etc. And that's how those ads will find you. So that's having that balance of knowing how to manipulate that, and then also be able to drive that revenue and follow it through. So making sure that we have the data and the analytics and the tracking set up on the other side of that to then prove, you know, how this all worked, whether it's, again, 1 day to conversion or 16 days to conversion. Everyone has a different path.
Cool. From friend of the family, Amanda, who used to work at the Overland Footwear group, has asked, you must have a big shoe collection, flats or heels?
Depends on the mood. Well, it depends on the attire. I think I have an array. I have Deuce sneakers. I'm mostly a boot girl, very much a boot girl. So either flat boots or heel boots, they're on. And then I have some Deuce sneakers, and then I have a couple other nice little Me Piaci loafers. Yeah.
I have a very large shoe collection, and I can't buy any more because I'm running out of space. But definitely a flats gal. I am just so much more comfortable in flats than I am in heels.
Yeah, you and me both, Ella. Raven has added, what has been the most rewarding experience for you while working at Overland? That's a lovely question.
I can go first. I think the most rewarding experience has been working with all the impressive, talented people.
It's going to be mine, Kaitlin.
Because it really is. When I was first interviewing at Overland, months ago, a year ago, was that, you know, the one question I always asked is like, what do you like about working here? What's so great about Overland for you? And everyone said the people. And I was like, okay, that's a good answer. And really quickly, I can tell you that was very true. That the people are such a great group of people, whether you're working with, you know, working right next to them, or if you're coming upstairs and they're in a different department or they're in store, like everyone has just been really impressive and inspiring and really wonderful people to work with. So that's probably been the most rewarding for me.
I guess for me, sort of having been in the digital team for a few years now, there's been quite a few changes since I've been here in terms of the team, but I think most rewarding is seeing our team sort of grow and flourish into their roles. We've had a lot of our team have sort of stepped up into new roles and come from, sort of previous roles. So that's been really amazing to sort of watch everyone in our team sort of grow, expand their knowledge, and for us to continuously to like share that knowledge with each other as we sort of learn. I think that's been really amazing to watch everyone sort of, step up.
You guys are such a well-oiled machine, to say the least. So, with the ambitions we've talked about for the next 24 months and what we've reflected on for the past 24 months, you guys have very busy to-do lists. And I think that can be reflective of working in e-com and digital marketing all over. It's a busy time, and we often have busy schedules, and you and I both know that we often have some calls into the evenings to catch up. But I think a real hot topic for this year is managing work-life balance, especially now that we're kind of allowed out in the world and can go traveling and things. But how do you both manage your work-life balance on a week-to-week basis?
Okay.
You go.
Okay, I can go.
You go.
So we do have a couple of things like in terms of the business that they sort of support us on. So once a month, everyone in our business in the office gets a Flexi Friday, which is like a half day that we can take usually towards the end of the week, but can be sort of whenever. And that is just really helpful. You can sort of, if you're going away for the long weekend, you can, clock off a bit earlier, you can head away, or if you just want to have a bit of a rest and chill out for the afternoon, you can sort of just take that, which is always really great. But I think for me, it's really important to keep active. I found that like going to the gym regularly and making sure that I have that time to just sort of like be with myself, sit with my thoughts, just go through everything really helps me to sort of move away from work and sort of move into my personal life and just de-stress and keeps me functioning going to the gym.
What's your favorite thing to do at the gym? Sorry, Charlotte, I'm asking her a question.
I'm not a runner like you, Kaitlin. I'm sorry, you could not convince me to do any running, but never. I'm a big group fitness person. Someone to motivate me, yes, I'm all here for it. And then I can just really focus. I've got, my little personal cheerleader who's really driving me to do better. So that's what I love to do at the gym.
So gym tips.
Woo!
Yeah.
And how about you, Kaitlin?
Me, similar. I think it's staying active is the big one. As Ella mentioned, I do enjoy a good run or two or three. And I think, just kind of always being on the go, I think, and knowing what I need. And when I say on the go, I mean, just like doing something for myself. I really love camping. I love going out for a surf and having that kind of moment in nature is a big one for me. Running, eating good food, being with friends. I think just my work-life balance is more like being aware of the bigger picture of it. I think one of the things I say sometimes is we're not surgeons. So it's all going to be okay. And so I think one of my things is just, making sure that I have a level head and I'm doing stuff that's that I love doing, but also surprising myself and doing things I may not have ever done before. Like I recently went to a morning rave on K Road.
Oh, cool. I've heard about this.
I had to text the team because I texted the team, was like, hey guys, I'm running late. I'll be there soon. And then I came in on my bike and all akimbo and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, were you out running? I was like, no, I was at a rave this morning. Completely G-rated, everyone. It was coffee and bananas and oranges on K Road. And it was awesome. I was definitely needing a nap by 11 a.m. because it started at 5:30. But
oh my gosh.
I know it was a commitment. I went for it. I think, and that's the thing. It's just I'm one of those people. Is I love my routine. I love going for my run. I have my surf. I have this, but then kind of doing something different that I wouldn't normally do is something that I think helps keep me balanced. And then it's always fun to see everyone's look on their faces when I tell them the random thing that I just did.
And I think it's so important. I mean, all the activities you guys have identified there as well is just how important it is to have time away from devices despite the temptation, Cool. Some good tips for the viewers and listeners there. I hope to see, Kaitlin, you have to report if you see any Overdose folk down at your morning rave session.
Yeah.
I thought
we'll
I thought to wrap up our session, we could do a few quick fires. So I've kind of got you alternating, but feel free to jump in on both if you've got recommendations. So Kaitlin, I thought I'd start with you. What are 3 items you couldn't live without?
Yes. I have to admit, I feel like you sent me the harder questions.
Oh, I'm so not intentional. Not intentional.
I feel like it was intentional. I feel like it was made up, but it's okay. So I think to not be a smart ass and be like, fresh air and water and nutrients. I would say probably the 3 things that I'm going to lump in together is good coffee, good food, because like life is great. You should eat and drink things that taste good. So that's one thing I can't live without. I would say a decent book. I'm always on the hunt for a decent book. One thing that's real cute about the digital team, we're always like, what are you reading? And then we Lenny just got a little mini book club. We always talk about it. We haven't sent books yet. And then I think the last thing I couldn't live without is just having time in nature. Like I said, I grew up in Colorado, so Rocky Mountains, being outside all the time. Then I moved to New Zealand where it's got, oceans akimbo here. So I think just having time in nature is something I couldn't have without.
Very wholesome recommendations. Ella, what have you watched lately that we must see?
Okay, so I've been thinking about this because I'm such a big nerd when it comes to TV, film, but I have to recommend to everyone that they watch Dark on Netflix if you haven't seen it already. It's in German, so you'll have to watch it with subtitles, but it is amazing. Don't let that stop you. It is so good.
Cool. Kaitlin, where should we go to eat or drink?
Yes. Question in return. What's the location? Are we talking New Zealand, the States, Colorado, Rifle? Auckland?
I think we want to narrow it down to Auckland. But if you do have any other New Zealand recommendations, throw those in as well.
Absolutely. Okay. So I got 2 spots that come to mind, really. And I hope this does them justice. But if you're looking for some really good French pastries, on Dominion Road, La Voie Française has amazing pastries. And to be honest, they're really competitively priced. And so it's worth going out there for your little morning croissant. And then I would say one of my other favorites, which is kind of like if I'm feeling a bit homesick, I will go there. And that's Taco Loco Cantina. I think they're in Mount Albert now. Great tacos, great margs, and it's delicious.
Yum. Cool. Yeah. Ella, next question for you. Where is next on your list to travel to?
This question was quite well timed because I am planning a trip later this year to go around Europe. So that is really next on my list. I've never been, so any recommendations, guys, please let me know. But I'm really, really looking forward to it. So that's me.
It's so nice to see people getting back into that Euro summer phase. We have plenty of people here at OD who are booking those trips in as well in all shapes and sizes. And then the last question, which I actually threw in before you probably saw this list, I'm afraid, is for both of you. Who are your favorite e-com brands?
Ooh.
I mean, one that we always sort of look to for inspiration, particularly for Mi Piace, which is sort of our more luxury, high price point, fashion forward brand, is Dear Francis. They are American, I believe, and we absolutely love what they do. So check them out if you haven't already seen it.
Yeah.
Nice.
For staying on the shoe theme, another one I would say is probably Nike. I think they do a really, imagine having their budgets. Whoa. Dream. But I think, Nike, they do, they're such an iconic brand in between of, they're not selling the product, they're selling the story, they're selling the mood, they're selling the the achievement to, you know, that I could be an Olympic runner with their right shoe. So I think, you know, they're a really great e-commerce brand that's really smooth checkout through there. Yeah.
Nice. And on that note of a bit of inspiration, sorry, Kaitlin, what were you going to say?
What about you, Charlotte?
Somewhere I go as a customer, but also just to check out their website is Everlane, the clothing brand from the States. I love their clothes a lot, like great basics and really well priced, like quality materials. Like if you kind of want a lamb's wool jumper or some cashmere, they do like recycled cashmere for kind of $150. And obviously their whole spiel is around the transparency of manufacture and pricing around that. But they also just, I think, really nail their email design as well. And I pretty much open every single one of them, which is someone who has a lot of newsletters, much as you guys will also receive in your inbox. They are one of the few that I continue to open. So yeah, Everlane is a go-to for me.
Nice.
Cool. And on that note, with a bit of inspiration and some websites for people to have a look at this afternoon, I just want to thank you both for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's been great to finally lock this down for us.
And hopefully we don't need to do it for another year.
Well, I like talking, so you can surely tap me again.
Okay. Well, we'll make a memo of that, Raven. We'll note that down. Cool. So thanks everyone for watching, and you'll join us on the next OD and Chill. Thank you very much.
Thank you.